Okay. So this is how the magic happens. And one of the greatest benefits of doing this, it may be a little bit different than you think. Because yes, it ignites your creativity. And yes, it's beautiful. And of course, it gives you a way in physical form to bring in a solstice or an equinox. But something happens that is far, far greater that we're doing, and it's different because not a lot of people in the world doing this depth of work of igniting your intuition. So since this is such an intuitive process, this is our little laboratory, and Evie and I have been sitting here with just the center of our wheel, and the very center of your medicine wheel represents you. It's called the shaman face in the Lakota tradition. And then you have your stones that represent 4 different aspects of you. So what this is not going to be is a class in put this here, and this one goes here, and the sunflower goes in the middle, because that may not be what your medicine wheel needs to look like when you take the time to clear away all the distractions, all the busyness, all the to-do list and thoughts that you have. When you clear all that away and you create some space for yourself that no one's going to bother you, and I have some music suggestions I'm going to share with you in a Spotify playlist, but you may have music that really gets you there. But that's my suggestion to you at the beginning of this process. Put on some good music, find a time that no one's going to bother you, if it's in the middle of the night or if it's really early in the morning. Say a prayer, anchor your intention into this process. That's what this is for. And this is going to develop your intuition and be such a healing practice for you. So it goes far, far beyond the beautiful result and creation that you're going to have at the end. Welcome to your kit. When you receive your kit, you're going to have a little box of love and magic from us to go through and take your time and just really, really enjoy it. And we've given you little love notes, and it's on flower-seeded paper, so you can plant those. We tried to leave a little room where you can also write your hopes and dreams and plant them into the ground. So you can literally just plant this like you're planting a seed. It's totally earth-friendly. So that's a little love note from us, because we honestly did put so much love and care and time and thought into some of the kits. Might have a lava stone, some might have coral for feminine strength. There's specific intentions behind each stone. Not every stone is going to be listed. Some are little throw-in surprises that you might have to do a little intuitive work and a little exploring and investigating on your own. But one thing that we did try to do is give you different size pieces for the props that we talked about. So not every one of these pieces is probably going to be very obvious in your medicine wheel, but it will be obvious to you, because that's what we're so excited about, to share this sacred centering practice with you. This is like reclaiming the rituals of our ancestors, but not just that. It's also bringing in our own flavor into the new earth time that we are in now, our timeline, our creative inspiration. So in that way, it's like it's old and new at the same time. So when you get your kit, you're also going to have a booklet, a handbook, that's going to go over just some really basic properties and beautiful healing blessings with each flower, with the main intention of the stones in the kit. Like I said, not every stone, but the main intentions of the stones. So you're going to get to read over, like, okay, what does sunflower symbolize, for instance? Sunflower, for me, when I see it show up in a healing session, she represents nobility, strength, standing tall. When you think about the posture of a sunflower, and then you just think about the happiness and friendship that a sunflower brings when someone gives a sunflower. So that's our number one You might use it as the center of your wheel, you might not. And then we have the blue thistle, like we talked about before, where the blue thistle, to me, really represents beauty and boundaries, something that we can all use right now. And like Evie was mentioning about the duality, Aster was a new one for me. And I'm really excited for you to get to experiment with some of these new ones that Evie so intuitively picked out, because what she didn't even know was that Liatris was her birth flower and the flower of the month that we're actually doing this ceremony. And so it's wonderful to see how the flowers come together. And we have both of those. Aster and Liatris are all about star energy. They both have these ancient words that correlate to star. Liatris being blazing star and Aster being the Greek word for star. Now, when we get really deep into floral healing with plant spirit medicine, we start to realize that the flowers all have correlations to planets. And that is a beautiful next level learning that you can do to find out the astrological components to every flower that you're drawn to work with. And it just never ends. It never ends. And so an extra bonus that Evie really intuitively picked out in your kit is hypericum berries. And I thought that was a new plant for me until I realized it's St. John's wort. And it's not the actual bloom of the flower of the St. John's wort that's so known for all of its healing properties, but the berry also has amazing potential for healing and symbolizes protection, rebirth, inspiration, and cheerfulness. So this is our suggestion for you here at the beginning. Go over your handout, find your space. Where is going to be the space that you'll be undisturbed to kind of just get everything out? It's going to take you a little while for prep. You're going to need scissors, a flat surface, some quiet time, and we have a Spotify playlist for you as well. And we like to get some tea and just really sink into the whole process. I am so proud of you for doing this work, because it takes, I think, the most courage and effort for the whole process is just claiming the time and claiming the space. So have fun. Another thing that you're going to find in your handouts is handouts from some of my courses that I've included for you. Some of the flower essence therapy work is included that we cover in Expanding Sacred, my shamanism course, and also teachings about the 4 directions. Because something else that you need as you prepare your space and as you get ready for all this is your compass on a free app on your phone, so that you can orient yourself to the space that you're in. And then you can look through the handouts about what the 4 directions symbolize. But just as an overview to get you started, the south is going to be representing your physical healing. So once you orient yourself to your workspace and you create your own little ceremonial portal, you want to honor the direction of the south and what goals you have for physical healing. For the west, it's all about your emotions and your intuitive healing and emotional development. So you're going to notice certain flowers and certain stones are going to call to different areas of your wheel, which all your wheel represents is all the different facets of you, all of your complete totality of wholeness as the holographic being that you are. We honor the north for mental healing. So there may be a particular stone that just really speaks to you for mental health, and that's what you want to honor and pray over and place into the direction of the north. And then east, the rising sun, that beautiful spiritual area of our life, our spiritual health. What flowers and gemstones are going to call to you to be placed in your prayer wheel for the development of your spiritual well-being? These are the things I want you to think about, and then you can go deeper into the handouts about everything that the 4 directions symbolizes, which is really beautiful because it's about us. The simplicity of medicine wheel teachings are bringing our lives into that wholeness and into that balance. Another thing I want to call your attention to as you do this process, we happen to be in Mercury retrograde right now. So as well as the equinox coming in, where we've been really outwardly focused in the warm weather months, we're starting to go away from the sun and we're starting to go inward and connect with our own inner light at the equinox time and beyond. So we have the balance of the equinox that is symbolized by the fact that we have equal amounts of light and dark at that particular seasonal celebration. So you can think about the balance of your wheel. Do you want just like one more flower somewhere where it makes it feel like, it's right. Now it feels right to me. Now it feels in alignment to represent who I am and who I'm becoming and who I have been. Because all of our past, present, and future is in alignment at the equinox. We are balanced. So you have the inward focus of Mercury retrograde. That's such a beautiful time to do a centering prayer practice like this. And the other thing that I wanted to call your attention to here at the beginning of our work is the fact that this is all impermanent. This is goodbye art. This is a leave no trace kind of creative experiment where we're not creating something that's going to last forever. And that's the beauty of it. But hopefully throughout the next few days where you're really tuning in and you're doing everything you can for self-care to raise your vibration, equinox seasonal changes are a great time to detox. So it might be a really good time to look at, what certain things do you want to drink and eat, or how do you want to change sleep patterns to really raise your vibration and amp up your intuitive power at this time too. And then to create this little portal and know that you have all the power that's ever been in any ceremonial circle, anything as big as Stonehenge. You have that power in your little portal that you're creating here, and we cannot wait to see what you create. To create art, if you want to share a flower mandala, you're going to have opportunities to photograph like from this way down onto like whatever table. So you need to find a flat surface. You might find a table. What I've used for a lot of the ones that I've photographed in the past is an old board game. And so I just dedicated the back of an old board game that could be like my palette. And then I could adjust and change it any way that I wanted. It was portable because it was giving me a flat surface where I could create where I wanted to create. That's something for you to think about in terms of where is going to be the most supportive space for you to have some privacy. So the last one that Evie and I did, we did on her conference room table at her company, and it was beautiful. Big, long wooden table, and it worked perfectly. So it might be your dining room table, it might be an office desk, or my mother did hers on her outside, like a glass table, and her cats loved that. And all of her photos of her mandala, her cats are just like, hey. So you can think about how creative you want to be with the backdrop and what color you want to have underneath. The color that you have underneath, you don't want it to compete, but you definitely want it to enhance or be neutral. Mm-hmm. So think about that. Think about where you're going to be able to relax and be undistracted. That's why we wanted to give you all a 5-day window. So hopefully within 5 days, you can find a time that no one's going to bother you for a little while, and you can really like sink into this. Because the funny thing is when I brought stones over so that Evie and I could play, I had ideas about the ways the stone is going to go. And then the interesting thing is you'll place something and then you'll be like, no, it doesn't feel right, because that's what you want. And that's what Evie and I were talking about the first time that we did this in her conference room. There's this feeling of pressure initially. It's like, I've got to do this right. And then there's the freedom to step into, oh, there is no right or wrong way to do this. There is, how does it feel? How does it feel if this piece of coral that represents feminine strength and power is placed instead of a more dynamic yang energy lava stone where you have the earth element, you have the ocean element? In your handout, you've got all the information about the directions and what each direction represents for you. So I can't show you here, put this in the east, put this in the west, because it's going to feel different based on your personality, your vibration, your energy signature. But I hope that you're going to make these photo worthy so that we can see them and you can share them with us. A way to make them photograph worthy is to use your stones as props as well. So I'm going to be including smaller gemstones so that if you want that beautiful, gorgeous floral representation where it won't topple over, because as you can see, you might want to keep your flowers like this and have them extending either into the 4 directions or out. We definitely do that with some of our more lengthy pieces to where you can start to honor southwest, northwest, southeast. Those all have qualities and attributes as well. So you can get as detailed and creative with this as you want to go, or you can be very simple with it. But the one thing that's going to really help is if you decide if you want everything photo worthy. Because what you notice I did with our centerpiece focal point, the center of your medicine wheel represents the totality of you, all the masculine, yang, assertive qualities of you, all the feminine, yin, receptive qualities of you, the light, the dark, the good and the so-called bad that we all embody and embrace inside of us. It's all in the center. So as you can see here, if I was just to place this sunflower, which I had to cut it at the base to be able to use it this way, it's not going to stay, it's not going to look centered for my photographs. So all you got to do is take your stones that you wish to have to be your 4 main direction stones and place them as props. Now, some people ask, and you can definitely fluff and you can definitely open and unfurl your flowers too.
And that also adds a quality where you can feel the texture of them, like the waxiness of these guys, or these berries right here, or even like the prickly of the thistles as well. You get a full sensory experience.
I love that. And as you can see, I'm going here. This stone desperately just wanted to be involved in this. So one thing I wanted to add right here, you can see how I've just kind of like been intuitively propping with smaller stones. We've placed a lot of different size stones in your kit because you might find like a little piece of petrified wood like this, or a piece of blue tiger eye, or some smaller shells work great for the propping. And what I want you to understand is, even though at the end, you probably won't be able to see a lot of these like amethyst and green tourmaline, lots of different things that I've used, you probably won't be able to see all of those. And so one question that's come up is like, oh, but the stones are so pretty, I don't want to cover them up with the other flowers. Well, you don't have to. Remember that. You could use them very visible in your art creation, but also remember what I said about you don't have to use every flower in your mandala either. But the other thing about the smaller stones, if you do end up using them to position your larger flowers where they look really beautiful and really upright, you know that they're there. And it's your grid. It's your crystal grid. It's your magical portal into higher dimensions for a prayer carrier and a connection to us, a connection to all the spirits of these plants and the living consciousness of these gemstones. So you know that they're there, and there's no difference between what you are creating and something like Stonehenge, something big like that. There's absolutely no difference in the power that you can infuse into them. So it's okay if no one else can see them, because this is about you. Go ahead and film this and then I'll go get him. Mm-hmm. So now at this point, I'm gonna take a little while to really look at my balance, especially since what we're dealing with at the equinox is all about balance. It's the harmony of the light and the dark. There's only 2 times of the year that the light and the dark are equal. And so that is what we are coming together to collectively share here. So at this point, like if I just had my music on and I was like really into my own thing, before I go getting all crazy, and one thing I don't want you to do is just be so result oriented that you're just like, okay, I gotta put this, I gotta use it all. You may end up having some in a vase. You may use some as decor or ritual in another way. You may get to a point where you're like, in Hawaiian we call it pono, like, this is pono. This is right. It's just that feeling of I'm complete. Only you are gonna know. We had students in the other class that incorporated their own shells and their own feathers. And so there might be something hanging around that you're just like, oh my gosh, this feather wants to go in and it wants to be right here and I can just feel it. But as you do, you're centering 4 direction pieces, like whatever those end up being, out of your kit. I want you to take a moment with that and really be complete with that part of it before you move on. Keep going.
So one thing that I realized and that helped, Evangeline was saying there is no right or wrong, no guidelines, but it does help to start with the center. And starting with the center also, for me, it allowed me to even get centered, to bring in the chaos that I have going on, my yings and my yangs and all of that, and my masculine energy or my feminine energy, and whatever I'm at that moment, is to center myself.
Yes, and picking out which stone do you feel like represents you, who you are, because the 4 directions are going to represent lots of other things about your life. So reading over the handout that we have of what the 4 directions symbolize, orienting yourself to the space that you're in. That's a really easy thing to do with your iPhone. Just find the compass and orient yourself to where you can actually know when you are working in the north or the south and what that means. If you're in the north, there's a lot more playful. No, I have to go back. If you're in the south, there's a lot more playful energy. If you're in the north, there's a lot more logic energy. Okay, where are you at? What are you bringing to this? Are you bringing a lot of intellect? Are you bringing a lot of playfulness? Remember, we do this as an intention carrier. So are you going to, in this process, place your prayers for the pieces of your life that represent career in that direction, the pieces of your life that represent family or physical healing or love relationships? This is your prayer carrier. This is what helps people in a real way with ritual, because it gives our prayers somewhere to go. We're infusing our intentions, our hopes and dreams into these stones and these flowers. Yes, we're experiencing with our group.
Yes. So at first when I came in, I had a full work day. I was still in my head. And working with it and hearing the first part of becoming intentional and becoming grounded with the present moment and the flowers, everything just whooshed and settled down and just really started incorporating itself instead of it being everywhere.
Yeah, and like you said, the prep requires, you need some scissors, you need a good cup of tea or something that you can really enjoy and settle in. And our true hope and desire for you, dear friends, is that you really do claim this time to be self-care.
And bring in also anything that really calls to you. Some of these stones were actually gifted to me by my brother on one of the trips, and they were just sitting behind me, and something inside of me called that, hey, they want to come to the party too.
I love that. And so it is going to require that you have like a bit of a workspace. And what we do when we get together and we play and we create magic like this is I just bring lots of stones, lots of shells. There's so many in here that we haven't even, but it's play. So it's playtime, it's healing, it's creativity, it's art, it's beauty. These are the beautiful remains of our first course.
And the way that they dried up so you can keep these as well when you're done using your florals and dry them up. These were orchids that we had, and I mean, they just dried up incredibly, and they kept their color almost. And we had some beautiful blue delphinium in there with it, and then these, we had some beautiful heather in there too. And the stones changed as well. Taking me around. We had our shells in that first box.
And I like there being some surprises that they don't expect to get in their kit. And we really focused on the symbolism of each flower and the origin. So could you tell us, Evie, you were talking about this particular type of sunflower. Where is it from?
That particular type of sunflower is from Colombia and Ecuador. And it is called a native sunflower or a sunset sunflower. And it has the kind of natural dyed, not dyed because that's a natural little tints to them that they would have in the wild. And then these roses here are called free spirit roses.
Free spirit. Oh my gosh. Where are they from?
All of these right now are from Ecuador and Colombia because their time right now where these are harvested and grown are actually a little bit mimicking to what we would have as fall weather. So they're a little bit more in the colder temps that we are at the moment.
And this is a new friend to me. When they find this in their kit, tell us what you love about that and what is it called?
These are called hypericum berries. We also have some aster and some liatris right here.
And how do you say this one?
Liatris. And we decided to incorporate some of our last box with the blue thistle from Scotland, native to Scotland.
We love the nobility, the resilience, the protection quality of the blue thistle. They were a big hit.
They were, and the dualism too. So, I think blue thistle, you think of it as prickly, and also I believe they had like a negative,
yeah.
I think a negative side to them, but then they were, because they're prickly, but then they're just as beautiful at their resilience and their strength. And I just feel like these for fall are incredible.
They are so lovely. And so these are the intuitive choices that just kind of jumped out. Now, each person's kit is going to have different gemstones in it. So what we're doing here is just to show you how to do your intuitive process. Of course, like this lava stone, it's probably going to make it in one of your boxes, but that will be a surprise for you. And there will be a handout showing you which stones represent which qualities, the symbolism of each flower in your kit. But in the meantime, what I really want to invite you to is I don't want to tell you, like, place the lava stone at the south. You know what I mean? I would love for you to get a compass and orient yourself to the directions where you're going to be, like in your workspace. And then I'm going to teach you in the little video tutorials, I'm going to teach you what each direction symbolizes, because what the directions are all about is different qualities of you. Your playful side, your emotional side, your intellectual, serious adult side, your spiritual side, the grown-up responsible side. We're honoring all of those when we work with the medicine wheel. And that is the intuitive development that is happening in this really powerful exercise in the creative process.